How's it going, everybody? Ragroth here. At this time, Ichiban just released in Sonic Racing Crossworlds, and they officially announced Knights and II for the game. I mean, we kind of all knew they were coming because they kind of leaked. And more rumored but not really leaked one, we also are getting Tangle and Whisper coming into the game, which is honestly huge. The fact that we're actually going to have Sonic comic characters playable in a game after all these years of Sonic comics existing. That was awesome news. I think we have about 4 more, Sega characters, at least coming in this season. Free Sega characters, may I add. Now, I know I did a video talking about characters, like Sonic characters, that I'd like to still see added to the game. Now I want to talk about just Sega characters. And I'm kind of glad I waited until after this, because Tangle and Whisper were kind of going to be mentioned on this, but thankfully, that's irrelevant now. Now, I'm not going to do a top 10 list like I usually do. I'm going to just kind of list off some characters I'd like to see. Some are going to be from series already in this game, and some are going to be from series that are not represented in this game. I figured I'm safe to do this because it doesn't seem like anything has been data mined. It seems like all of the leaked or rumored characters are kind of out now. There's nothing else that's really been heavily leaked or rumored, so I feel like everything else is relatively unknown at this point. So yeah, I'm going to just talk about some characters I'd like to see. And of course, before we get started, don't forget to like the video and also subscribe if you haven't already. It would really help the channel out a lot. But with that being said, so first, let's talk about some characters I'd like to see from series that are already represented in the game. So I think first, I can probably talk about Yakuza. Now, for Yakuza, we have Ichiban, which is awesome. I'm glad Yakuza is represented, and Ichiban is cool. However, he's really not the first Yakuza character I would have chosen. I would have honestly preferred Kiryu or Goro Majima. And it's really strange that Kiryu wasn't chosen, since he is kind of the main character in most of Yakuza. I know a lot of the times they're kind of weird about him being in crossovers, especially in fighting games, because they don't like him beating up women. But this isn't a fighting game. He wouldn't be beating up any women. Not to mention most of the women are like animals also too. I guess that probably doesn't help. And if it's a kind of case of like, oh, he's too serious to put a goofy game like this. Have you guys played Yakuza? Have you seen some of the wacky ass shit he does in those games? Like, that's such a horrible excuse.
Oh, breaking the law, breaking the world, coercive.
Now, one thing that I think kind of hurts Kiryu's chances is, well, if you kind of look at the color scheme for Ichiban, it looks more like Kiryu's kind of suit, his kind of trademark kind of a white-gray suit with sort of the burgundy kind of button-down shirt. It looks more like that versus kind of where Ichiban is kind of the reverse, where he's kind of mostly wearing burgundy and like kind of a white button-down shirt. Where it's kind of like the gray is the primary color and the red is the secondary color. It looks a lot more like Kiryu, and it also makes me wonder if they wanted to put Kiryu in, but maybe there was a last-minute decision to put Ichiban in instead. Something like that, or I don't know, maybe they'll put Kiryu in and he would have his color scheme for the other vehicles would be more the Ichiban expected color. I don't know. However, though, if it were really up to me and I can only pick one, I would actually prefer Goro Majima. He's my favorite Yakuza character. I think he's just more fun, and you don't have to worry about that, the bullshit where he's too serious. Like, no, Majima's a fucking goofball. Not to mention, he did have more of his own recent standalone game recently with the Pirate Yakuza game. I mean, it was like last year at this point. And you could even have that version of the game, maybe even like a pirate ship vehicle. I don't know. I mean, that may be a little silly, but maybe, maybe probably just use traditional more Majima. I could actually have seen him for some reason being on Extreme Gear, so maybe they could have given him some there, especially since Ichiban already has a car. Give Majima the Extreme Gear. This is who I would personally pick. Now, we have Yakuza 3 Kiwami coming out. So maybe this is another kind of opportunity to kind of put another Yakuza character in, but I'm really not sure there. Now, moving on to another series that already is a character. Since we know we're getting Knights, it would be cool if we could also have Rila as well. Now, I'll be honest, I don't really know much about Knights the game. I mean, I've seen little clips of it. I know, like, the minigame from, like, Sonic Adventure. I played Sonic Racing Transformed, where, Knights and Rila were a car and crap in the tennis game. But Rila's cool. He's kind of like the sort of, I guess, the antagonistic or the rival to Knights, at least from what I understand, and he would, I think, be pretty easy, or, I'm sorry, they. I don't think Knights and Rila have a gender, if I remember correctly. I actually think maybe Rila could just be a skin, if anything. He does look, or, I'm sorry, they do mostly look very similar to Knights, just kind of different colors. I guess some other minor changes here and there. So it would be cool if they were just a skin for Knights when they come out. I unfortunately don't think it'll be the case, just because it's like, it seems like with the free characters, of course, there's not going to be as much like extra stuff put into them, like the Pac-Man Ghost and all that. But it would be cool to have Rila in as well. Maybe they could come later or something. I don't know. Especially because, you know, them and Knights didn't really get to actually be the characters in Transform. They were kind of the cars, which were weird. So it'd be cool to actually see them as a character this time as well. I know Rila was also in the tennis game too. Now let's talk about Persona. Now Joker from Persona 5 was the character chosen from Persona in this game, and look, I love Persona 5. It's a great game. It's probably one of my favorite RPGs ever, maybe one of my favorite games ever, and Joker is awesome. But it just kind of sucks that whenever we get kind of like a Persona character in a spin-off game, it like always has to be Joker. Like, there are other characters. We can't even get other characters from Persona 5 in these games as well. Now, I totally understand Joker being in Smash Brothers, especially because Smash Bros. Ultimate only came out like a year or so after Persona 5 came out. But like with a Sega game, and I just feel like there's been so much more since then, maybe not so much more, but more, I feel like they could have done something a little different. I personally would have liked to seen Makoto from Persona 3, the main character. Hell, you could also, I would have been totally fine with Makoto from Persona 5, especially since she already has a vehicle as well. Talking about Makoto from Persona 3, I mean, it just sucks because it's like, Makoto has not really gotten in any crossover games that aren't like dancing games or other RPG games. I would have loved to see him in this. He could have had a vehicle that was like a combination of like maybe Orpheus and like Thanatos or something like that, or, you know, just Thanatos. That would have been sick. Maybe even Messiah. And for what it's worth, I mean, Joker has probably one of the coolest looking cars in the game, too. Especially, it's weird because Persona 3 Reload came out recently, and it was also, I think, the fastest selling Persona game as well. And, you know, it's just more relevant right now. I mean, you know, Persona 3 was kind of what really started the kind of the upward trend of Persona games as well. So it is a shame that, like, they kind of missed out on that. He could always come later. But unfortunately, I think if they are going to add any more Persona characters, since we're getting a Persona 4 remake, it'd probably be Yu Narukami, who I think has been in more than enough spin-off and crossover games at this point. Now, I know a thing with Makoto from Persona 3, people mention will be like, well, if you played Persona 3, you know why he's probably not in any spin-off games. And that, I say, who cares? This is a fun crossover game, and I don't even think crossover characters are even actually canon. I think supposedly they might just be holograms that Dodonpa made or something like that. And fan service should be above everything in this game. I'm so tired of people using excuses that like, well, this character died, so they can't be playable in this game. Like, who cares? It's a freaking racing game. Fan service should be more important than story or lore for a game like this. Yeah, it's great that they use it for, like, you know, some of the stages and some rival interactions. That's great, but it shouldn't dictate the roster. Now, I guess moving on to a series that, like, it's not represented in this game, but you can make, I guess, an argument if it is, with Shin Megami Tensei, since Persona was a spin-off of Shin Megami Tensei. It would be awesome to have a character from that in this game. Now, there's two that come to mind with that, and that is Demi-Fiend from SMT3 Nocturne, and Nahobino from SMT5 and SMT5 Vengeance. Now, either would be cool. I think they're both sick characters. They're both awesome, awesome protagonists. Well, they don't always say much aside from what you tell them to say. I've always really liked both of these guys. Now, if I was a betting man at which one would have more of a chance, I would probably say Nahobino. Just because SMT5 is a little more relevant right now. I mean, SMT3 HD rematch, that came out like, it's been like 4 years. But SMT5 at least came out, I think, what was it, like 2022, and then SMT5 Vengeance came out like 2024. Yeah, it came out like last year. So it's definitely more relevant, and I guess that would be neat to have, the Persona 5 and SMT5 guy. Not only that, but I think Nahobino kind of lends himself more to having like kind of a vehicle, just because there's a little more like kind of technology and stuff to him, if you want to call it that. Like, I could totally imagine like a car that kind of looks like Nahobino or something. It would be, I think, really cool. But honestly, either would be great, and I really hope they don't kind of just screw SMT over just because we already have Persona. Like, I know it's like they're connected, but they are still their own things, and if like we can't get another Persona character, then give us another SMT character. Then, of course, kind of one more Atlas series that could be in the game is the main character from Metaphor Phantazio. I forget their official name. I haven't actually gotten that far in Metaphor, to be honest. And the cool thing is, they kind of already have a vehicle. In Metaphor, you can actually kind of sort of surf on your sword. So that right there is their extreme gear weapon. I mean, I know it's a little basic, and it probably want to do that. Maybe they'd do something that looks like a sword, but you have something right there. That would be cool. Not really much more to say there, and I mean, Metaphor was a very successful game, so it could definitely be in the game. Okay, now moving on to other characters from other franchises not represented. This first one is, of course, Shinobi. Shinobi is another Sega game that I, really like. I admittedly played more of the PS2 games than the old games, so I would, of course, more so like Hatsuma or Hibana or even Moritsune. I mean, obviously Hatsuma would be the main choice from that. However, we all know who it's going to be. It's going to be Joe Masashi. I mean, Joe Masashi, he is kind of the icon of Shinobi. I mean, he was in Transformed as well. And of course, we can't really leave out the elephant in the room. He literally had a new game, Shinobi Art of Vengeance, which did fantastic. It's a great game.
Shinobi's back!
So, like, I just can't see them picking anyone other than him. And that's fine. I mean, I like Joe Masashi. It would be nice to actually get the PS2 guys represented, but it is what it is. I'd be totally fine if Joe just had the same exact vehicle that he had in Transformed. I think that vehicle is awesome, and not really much more to say there. But I would actually say he is probably the most likely character on this list, just because he's relevant, he's popular, he's been in the racing games before. It's just like II and just like I guess Knights to a degree. I'm sure he's coming. The next up is Streets of Rage. This series has definitely made a comeback with Streets of Rage 4, and we're also getting another new Streets of Rage game that's in like 3D coming soon. So I think the character from Streets of Rage would probably be, I would imagine, Axel Stone. Maybe he'd be like paired with another character. I'm really not sure what they could be driving. I'm sure there's something you can think of, but like I'm honestly kind of drawing a blank right now. Just because there's no really the vehicles in Streets of Rage are just kind of regular, realistic vehicles and all that. They could kind of do what they did with Jackie and Akira and maybe have kind of be like a dual representation where there could be Streets of Rage characters driving a car from another series, which I'll get to that in a little bit. But I think it would be cool, and I think there's definitely some chance there, because again, Streets of Rage made a big comeback with 4, and it's already kind of getting a new game, so it's definitely a relevant kind of classic Sega franchise. Then next up is Vise from Skies of Arcadia. He was in All-Star Racing Transformed. Now, I'll be honest, I never played Skies of Arcadia. It was always kind of those games that, like, it looked cool. I think it was just when it came out, I was just kind of young, and I wasn't really well in RPGs enough to kind of just give anything a shot. But I do remember him in Transformed, and he was pretty cool. I liked his vehicle. And I know like people always talk about like it should be like a remake or a sequel or something like that. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but this would be kind of a neat kind of nod to that. And again, he's already been in a racing game, so you already have a vehicle for him. Next series that definitely needs a character is The House of the Dead. Now, we did have a character or characters from House of the Dead in the first Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, and that was Zobio and Zobiko. Now, I think, like myself and many others, we were pretty perplexed by this kind of character. I honestly had no idea who the hell they were. They were from like a Japanese-only House of the Dead game or something like that. And like, for the representation for House of the Dead, it would be nice to have something that actually like more people know from the game, that's more from the main entries. I know Zobio and Zobiko are a little bit more cartoony and animated versus kind of more realistic, gritty House of the Dead kind of tone. But, I mean, if we got Ichiban, I kind of think we don't need only cartoony-like characters in the game. If we're not going to have Zobio and Zobiko, who would I like from House of the Dead? You could get, like, G and, like, Gary or James in, like, a car or something like that. That would be okay. What I would personally like is I would like the Magician to be a playable character in kind of his own, like, sort of maybe, horror kind of themed car or something like that. Now, for those that don't know, the Magician is a reoccurring boss in the series. He was the last boss in 1, the second last boss in 2. He was like kind of in the extra post-game thing in House of the Dead 4, like House of the Dead 4 Special or something like that. He's the most reoccurring House of the Dead boss. And he just has a sick design with a really sick theme. His theme is actually in the racing games, I believe. At least the first one. I forget if it was in the second one. So I would like him. And of course, they probably use something more closer to his House of the Dead 1 design, just because the House of the Dead 2 design is a little more grotesque because he has like the worms coming out of him. Because I guess he was killed in House of the Dead 1, and I guess he came back, so he's kind of like even more undead in House of the Dead 2. But probably something more like the 1 and 4 design would probably be a safer way to go, so it's a little less grotesque. And I know he's like a really like kind of long character, so I don't know, maybe they just have a hard time getting in the car. But I think he would be a more exciting House of the Dead character, kind of represent the series, rather than these kind of obscure characters from this like Japan-only game. Now, if it's really Zobi and Zobiko or nothing, like fine, sure, I'll take them. I'd rather them than no House of the Dead characters at all. It would be a shame for House of the Dead to miss out on a character again. I mean, I know it's kind of relevant. We've had the House of the Dead 1 and 2 remake, which haven't exactly done too well. I haven't even bought the second remake yet, just partially because I keep forgetting because it kept kind of getting delayed without much notice. I don't think it's too likely, but it's not impossible. Then it would be great to see a Virtua Fighter character come back. I was a little bummed that they took out Jackie and Akira in All-Star Racing Transform. I'm guessing it's because they were in the Outrun car, and maybe they just couldn't think of a way for the car to transform. I don't know, something like that. Now, I know Virtua Fighter is kind of making a comeback with Virtua Fighter 6, and I know Akira's in it. We don't know Jackie yet, though I'm sure Jackie's going to be in the game. He's like, I feel like he's the Ken to Akira's Ryu, so I'm sure he's going to be in the game. So it would be cool to kind of see them in like their new designs, and maybe in like the Outrun car or something like that. Because again, it was cool that you kind of kill two birds with one stone with them, where it's like, you know, it works out because Jackie's a race car driver. You represent Virtua Fighter with the characters in the car, and then the vehicle represents Outrun. So I think it'd be cool to bring them back. I mean, I would like to say it's a possibility because Virtua Fighter is making a comeback, and in a big way as well. But I also don't know how close Virtua Fighter 6 is. You know, by the time that game comes out, you know, maybe Crossworlds will be kind of done. But even then, we do have Virtua Fighter 5 Burrito, and while I do not care about that game because it's just mostly for online, it is still a thing that is keeping Virtua Fighter relevant. And they could always just use Akira and Jackie's probably classic designs, which I think would probably be more likely, even though I think it would be cool to kind of see them have a new design. So then, lastly but not least, is a character that I think a lot of us kind of forget that is owned by Sega, and that is Bayonetta. I wanted Bayonetta since I think like maybe the first racing game, and it's a shame that she's never made it. Now, essentially, she's co-owned by Sega. I think like you really only saw Sega pop up with the first game. I don't really think as much with like the second and third because Nintendo published those. But I do believe that Bayonetta is still co-owned by Sega. Now, I don't know if it would be a case where maybe she would have to be exclusive to the Switch or Switch 2 version, which would be a shame. However, there was that like kind of collection that was like Bayonetta 1 and like Vanquish that came out on like other consoles. So what I'm thinking is maybe if Bayonetta was to be in this game, maybe it would have to be the Bayonetta 1 version of her, which, I mean, it wouldn't be a deal breaker. I would settle for that. It would be kind of cool, like, since, you know, there's the part where, like, she's in the car with Enzo in Bayonetta 1. Maybe, like, Enzo's the driver, but she kind of does all, like, the tricks and, like, throws the items and stuff. I think that'd be kind of cool. But then again, she could also probably have a little more stylish as well. But it is just a shame that she kind of keeps missing out on the racing games. And, again, she is technically owned by Sega, at least co-owned, so she really should be in the game. So that's really all the characters I can think of off the top of my head that would be cool to see added in this game that are still Sega. And like what I'm kind of hoping for the future is that, well, we do know from some interviews that they are already looking at the ideas of supporting this game for another year and possibly even a third year. Now, what I'd really like is if the characters they add that going forward are just Sega and Sonic characters. I hate to be a buzzkill. I am just not feeling that a lot of the paid guest characters, I mean, nothing against them. I mean, the only ones I really care about are like Mega Man and Proto Man. I just think Sega needs to have a little more confidence in their own characters. I get it, like, you know, I'm not even a person that's wholly against guest characters. It's just that when they're kind of taking away spots from these characters that are actually part of the series that they're representing, that like we don't really get to play as a lot of these characters a lot. Like the base roster was basically just what Team Sonic Racing should have been. And we finally got that, and now it's like they're kind of being stingy with other Sonic characters, and we're like kind of getting some Sega characters back, which is great. Now, I unfortunately don't think that's going to be the case. I think it is probably more likely that the paid DLC characters will just be other crossover characters that are not Sega and Sonic. And okay, fine, but then I hope in that case they do continue to add free Sega characters and maybe free Sonic characters as well. Because I think if they do that, especially for 2 more years, I think we'll have a much more solid like Sega and Sonic lineup. That'll be kind of, it'll definitely be kind of contending with kind of what we had with All-Star Racing and Transformed, maybe even better. Now, if that is the case, what it would be nice if at least the paid guest characters, at the very least, were just from video games. I think I would be a little happier if like there was just more characters I like that were chosen that I would want to see in a game. You know, we got that with Pac-Man and Mega Man and Minecraft. It would be cool to see like other series. That's really all. I would like just more Sega and Sonic characters after this. I hope these next 4 aren't the final ones. That would be really a shame. And I know people say like, oh, well, you know, you need to have these guest characters to sell the game and all that. And like, okay, that's great. I get that. But the game's already come out. It's already sold well. Now let's just focus on the more, I guess, hardcore audience, if you want to put it that way. But I think that's really all I got to say for this video. You know the drill, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What Sega characters would you like to see added to the game, or Sega franchises you would like to see added, or other Sega characters that you would like from the franchise already added to be added in the game? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for checking out this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. And another time, another place. Keep being awesome.